journalism. And to do us the honor on this journalism masterclass, we're having a young man from the Virgin Islands, now residing in the United States. His resume shows that he has been with the Miami Herald, he's been with Newsweek, and he's been with TIME magazine. He's presently the owner of NiteCap Media, and he has penned one book, he's the author of one book, and he's been also honored with the title of the most influential black business leader among black business leader in the city of Miami, based on Legacy, Miami. Please give him a warm welcome as he comes to give you his masterclass in journalism, Mr. Peter Bailey. And for those of you who were present last evening, you heard him last evening. Thank you very much.
How you guys doing? Good. It's only chalk, right? So. Can this go up or?
You guys can move a little closer to
blue or black?
There's the blue or the black.
Ain't no blue. That's no blue. Okay, yeah, there we go.
You guys should move your chairs up a little closer.
You read that?
Yes.
What does that say?
If life is a
story and where our characters, make sure you play a leading role.
Right? Yeah. I wrote that down for a reason because words lay an imprint on people's minds. As I said, I'm a journalist. I would be biased in saying that I believe journalism is the most honorable profession. It is the most honorable profession because life is indeed a story, and basically, today is a story. Today we all add a voice to this story. The problem is, we don't own the story. The problem is, journalistically, other people write our story. Other people write our voice. Other people amplify our voice, so it doesn't come off as authentic. I'm not going to talk much because I want you guys to lead the discussion and lead the class. But I'll just give a brief background. As Shu just said, I wrote for the Village Voice, Newsweek, Time magazine, the Miami Herald, and then I left to write a book with a hip hop star, and then after that I started my own company because I wanted to present our stories in a more authentic light. I felt that people of color, when we're portrayed in the media, we're either robbing a bank, shooting somebody, or acting crazy. So I wanted to show the other side of us. I wanted to be all characters, and I felt that we never get the leading role. We're never starring in life's narrative. So that's why I became a journalist. Recently, I was in the Virgin Islands with Hurricane Irma and Maria, and totally destroyed. I have a house in one of mine that got destroyed, and another house got destroyed. And I decided to start to advocate for what was happening. And I basically penned a New York Times op-ed called, "Has America Forgotten the Virgin Islands?" Then I chose to take that further, and I produced 2 films based on that op-ed. The Anguilla Connection and the Unbreakable Virgin Islands. And I did that because I don't mean to sound depressing, but we're all leaving. I don't care if you're healthy, if you have cancer, I hope you don't, but we're all gonna leave this room one day. We're all gonna leave this room one day. And when we leave this room, when we leave this planet, the only thing that's gonna matter is the energy we left here and the stories we left. And quite frankly, I think if somebody turns on the TV, puts on the radio, how will black people be remembered? Let's be honest. If you listen to the music currently, if you watch the newscast, if you watch movies, how will people remember us? I have a joke, right? I don't know if it's funny or not. If an alien lands from outer space, right here, and just lands in America or in St. Martin, and the only thing they know of black people or Caribbean people is what they hear in music or what they see in movies, they're gonna approach me as a black man and ask me, do you have any weed? I hope you don't rob me, and please don't mess with my woman. Just being honest. If someone doesn't know anything about us, except all they see is in pop culture, in music, or movies, that's the impression they're gonna have of us. That is the power of media. Media, in a democracy, you have the government, the leaders, and you have the populace. Journalists, we're the fourth estate. We ought to hold the leaders accountable to the masses. As Pulitzer said, we are here to afflict the comforted and comfort the afflicted. Growing up in the Virgin Islands, I didn't like the story I saw. I didn't like the stories. I still don't like the story I see in the Caribbean. I see a handful of people having a lot and a mass of people having very little. So as a journalist, my job is to tell those stories. My job is to offer clarity. As a journalist, your job is to not have an agenda. See, there's a fine line between editorializing and journalism. When you start to be a journalist and you go out on a story, you interview somebody, openness is the key to being a great journalist. Openness is the key to being a great journalist. If you're interviewing somebody and say they believe in God and you don't, that's their perspective. That's their story. As a journalist, you are not to influence their story. Your job is to report this story and share their story with the masses and let the masses make sense of that. So having said that, please ask me some questions about journalism and what you think about journalism. Because I want you guys to lead this discussion, a class per se. So any thoughts on journalism? Kids, yes ma'am.
What was the inspiration to choose that field?
What was my inspiration to choose that field? To choose to become a journalist. My father is from Trinidad. Well, my father's passed, was from Trinidad. My mother's from Anguilla, and I was born in St. Thomas. Yeah. If you know anything about the U.S. Virgin Islands, there's a lot going on there. There's a whole lot going on there. It's almost like six, probably saying more than the same thing, like 6 different worlds on the island. You have your local indigenous population, you have the other Caribbean folks that came there for a better life. There's a friction between them and the local Virgin Islanders. You have your business merchants, your Indians, your Asian Arabs, they're in their world. You have your white American surfer crowd that's just coming to boat and have fun. You have your older white rich crowd, and everybody's all over the place in their little bubble. So that's what started to shape my consciousness. And I believe in bringing people together, right? I don't think we hate each other in this world. I think we just don't know each other. I think we just don't know each other. I don't care what race you are, what economic class you are, we all generally want the same things in life. We all generally want the same things in life. My inspiration to be a journalist was that I felt if I could tell people stories, the world, you would understand people more. I would introduce you to your neighbor, right? Because if you don't know someone, you're gonna be fearful of them. But if you read a story about them, say, oh, they like that, oh, I like that, oh, I'm into that. It makes the world a smaller place, and it brings people together. My company's slogan is content creating clarity. That's content creating clarity. I believe in clarity. I believe in people understanding each other. So that was my inspiration. And also, like I said, when we leave here, whatever story I write, so that movie I produced on the hurricanes, forever. When I'm gone, my offsprings are gone, everybody's gone, forever. If you want to remember what happened during that period of time, you can watch this film. And you can hear the people speak and tell their story. So in essence, I've immortalized that experience. I've immortalized that experience. That's what we do as journalists. Journalists are historians. We're really historians. That's what we are. We're historians. We're documenting history. And we're also artists. I think why a lot of people, journalism doesn't come off as glamorous or sexy because it's not seen as an art. But it's an art. Storytelling is an art. That's really what it is. So that was my inspiration, basically. One of my inspirations. Questions? Kids, I want some questions from the kids. Yeah, you guys. You guys are the stars today. So please ask me some questions. Don't be shy. Do not be shy. You cannot be shy in this world. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Purpose of journalism. The purpose.
What is the purpose of journalism? The purpose of journalism is to tell your story. To give you a voice. So you're just another dot on this planet. It's to humanize you. It's to basically, what's your passions? What do you like to do? You like to sing? What kind of music? What kind of music? Now everybody in here knows that you like gospel music. They didn't know that before. So now, right? So now they kind of know you a little bit better. Right? There you go. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
So as you said, journalism and media really influences society and culture story.
Yeah.
How do you think we can bring like local and regional media more to the forefront, especially since we're so heavily influenced by American media? So like, kids and everybody grows up trying to emulate what they see, but bring it to, I don't think it's non-existent. We have filmmakers, writers, but they don't get as much coverage. And I think that so we can see more of ourselves.
The question you just asked, straight up, the question she asked, that's one of my inspirations to be a journalist. You're right. You're 100% right. When I was writing for Time magazine, I would have to literally there was one story that took me a year to get in the magazine. And it was about Caribbean people. I remember my editor saying, Peter, you coming with this again? Peter, look, we know you're from the islands, great, but Peter, nobody cares about the islands, man. Look, I got a house down there, I want to drink and have some fun. I don't want to hear about their struggles down there, okay? That's what the editor told me. Now, some people can say that was mean, but a lot of it is a blind spot. A lot of times people are not intentionally trying to push us to the side. That's our job. That's our job. The problem with a lot of in this region is we're depending too much on another machine, right? That's our job. If we don't tell our story, nobody else is entitled to. Why should they? Because they can't tell it like us. So to your point, I want to see more and more owners of media and companies in this region. I want to see that. I want to see more ownership of media because that way we're going to own our story. And it's very important for us to own our story. When the hurricanes hit, it was a blackout. It was a total. I wrote that op-ed on the roof, putting down boards. And I remember a buddy of mine called me and said, Peter, don't take this the wrong way, but in your story, I was reading, there's lawyers in the islands, really? I don't know.
There's what?
Lawyers. Some people just feel we're just a bunch of coconut people down there. Let's be honest. A lot of people feel we just dance around fires and wine to calypso and smoke weed all day. And wear flower shirts and serve rum punch. Like look, in this region we got a lot of pride. That's a beautiful thing, clap, clap. But there's a larger world beyond these islands. And that larger world sadly really controls our economy. That's like, I hate to say this, but when I hear a lot of people not to me, whether it be in St. Morgan or St. Thomas, say our country, I'm like, country? No, we don't have a country yet. We're territories. which means a lot of our story is dictated by somebody else. Now, they could make us pretend we're leading the story, but at the end of the day, if Donald Trump decides, if Trump wakes up tomorrow and says, you know what, I don't like that Peter Bailey guy, I don't like his company, so I'm gonna pass a law in the Caribbean that in the US Virgin Islands that we're gonna cut the bandwidth on a Wi-Fi or something. It's done. Our politicians will go and powwow all they want, but it's over with. So we have to really start understanding that. Like we have to get up beyond this mirage, right? Pride is a beautiful thing and then there's reality. And I live in a real world. We are territories, we're colonies. Okay? We're not a country yet. But how do we move from that distasteful, disrespectful reality? By telling our stories. The power of an idea is more powerful than money. It is. Yes, ma'am.
But how do you get your story published if it's not about the dancing and stuff? Are they like black positive media moguls in, let's say, Miami that are prone to publish our stories?
You're looking at one.
Okay.
That's a very good question.
Say why? Because I am.
She asked, the question was, how do we get our stories published? Are there black media moguls willing to publish our stories and print our news? And I said, you're looking at one. This is the thing. I'll tell you a very personal story. When I was at Time, or I think it was at Herald, one of those publications, I was very depressed. I was very frustrated because I couldn't get certain stories in the publication. And my brother said, man, you've lost yourself. I said, what you talking about? He said, man, you're so hung up on Time magazine that you feel if your work isn't published in Time magazine, it's not good work. He said, brother, Time magazine don't make your work good. Your work is good if you write it on the wall. So the concept of you saying how to get published, there's something called the internet. You can start a blog for free of charge. You can start a blog for free of charge. You go on Facebook, and some of you right on Facebook could go viral. So, yes?
Yes, to make it a little more concrete, I'm an environmentalist.
Yes.
We're trying to get more green tourists here.
Yes.
Instead of the mass tourism where that tourists spend more money, so
yes.
the level of income of our locals
yes.
is better. So I organize hikes and
that's
all that.
Great.
Great. But how to get, it's not about money. That's why it's more to, where do you, because people are, awareness, where do I tap into a platform in the USA, because they are the ones that are willing to pay the dollar that we need because we're not producing anything yet in Somalia. So that's what I mean. It's like, is there like a trade show or a conference where publishers like me go?
Okay, I'll say something. I'm a journalist, but I'm also an entrepreneur. So in your question, you said, how do I get? Let me explain the danger in that philosophy. We can't be dependent anymore. That concept of dependency, we gotta cut it loose. Somebody started and built Time magazine. You and me are no different from that person. They just decided to own something. They went from, you know what, I'm not gonna chase it anymore. I don't chase it. Well, I pay my dues, but my point is, we have to start being the light that we're looking for. So when you're saying it's their trade shows, you have friends, get like-minded people together and start it. Because see what the internet has done, that internet thing, I swear, if you look at the internet, it's almost, the internet is what MLK was to civil rights. If you think about it, whoever started, the internet it's the new civil rights. The internet has democratized influence. There is no more gatekeepers in this world. Years ago, if I wanted to write a story like you said, I would have to pitch it to these editors. I don't have to do that anymore. I could go on the internet, start a blog, get my friends together. So what's your program? Say, okay, St. Martin Green, right? What if you create a hashtag St. Martin Green, start a Facebook group, St. Martin Green, get about 200 of your friends to start sharing and hashtagging St. Martin Green. That will go viral, and then guess what? CNN will come to you.
Okay, thank you.
CNN will come to you. We saw that after the hurricanes. The media was not covering us. So what did we as criminal do? We went on Facebook and we started ranting and raving. And what happened? The media had to come to us. The game of life is to draw people to you, not chase them. Remember what I'm saying? The key to success, even in any business, journalism, whatever it is creating something of value. And then value attracts. That's how it works. If you have something valuable, if you have an amazing story, people will find it. So the mentality is, stop wondering about how can I get something from this, and so, I'm going to create something and give it. Question? Yes, young man. What's your name, young man? What is it?
Stand up, stand up.
Yeah, stand up. No, don't put your hands. You stand strong. It's like you gotta have presence. Thought.
How do you know it's a good story?
How do you know it's a good story? Every story is a good story. Once something has happened, there is no bad story. It's just that you gotta find the audience, right? So St. Martin Green. If I'm from Tennessee, I might not care, but so what? But there's some people who care. So every story matters. What story is on your heart to tell? What's important to you? No, don't shrug your shoulders. Some gotta be important to you. What is important to you, Ken? Think about it. Think about something that you feel passionate about, that you believe in. I know you believe in something. We're gonna be here all day until you answer. I swear you will. No, there's something you care about.
Like sports.
Sports. What sport do you like? Football. As in soccer or American football? Okay, so wouldn't you like a beautiful soccer stadium to be built in St. Martin? That's a story, right? Is that a story? There you go. There you go. Questions? Questions? I know some more people ain't shy. Yes, sir.
So,
what's your name, sir?
My name's Mark.
Mark.
As a journalist, how do you take content coming from an oral history tradition and translate it into media that are like mass media in a way that is honest and that doesn't sort of transform your original?
That's a great question. He asked basically, if I'm getting it right, how do you take a story that's unique to our oral tradition, but tell it in a manner that's mainstream, that everybody is palatable and received by everyone? That's a great question, because throughout my career, I battled that. Okay, I'll give you an example. At my first career fair, I used to literally get on a Greyhound bus, no money in my pocket. Back then, I used to go to the internet or the periodicals, and I'll find a journalism career fair, and say I'm in Delaware at the time, I was going to college. I would catch a Greyhound, 3 Greyhound buses all the way to Detroit. And I'd sleep on the bus stop, not knowing how I'm gonna get back. And this one time I wanted to write for the New York Times. And it was this job for the New York Times. And I went all the way out there. And when I got to the table, the lady said, she can't meet with me. Then she said, where are you from? And I had a very thick, I still have it, right? Because in the Caribbean, it's a dual consciousness. We have our traditional dialect, and we have standard English. So at that time, she's looking at me and she made a joke. She said, what's the headlines down in the islands? They say, Irie, everybody Irie? A big part of my career I battled because one editor, the Washington Post said, Peter, we love your work, but we don't know if when you interview people, it might turn them off because of your Caribbean accent. True story. Oh yeah, true story. So I've had to figure out a way to create work that's authentic to us, but that can be received to a larger masses. And that's something we have to understand. What did I say earlier? We're very proud people, but we don't exist in a bubble. We don't exist in a bubble. A lot of my Caribbean friends email me, man, every time you're on TV, you won't talk your accent. I said, bro, I have to relay our story to the world. I don't have time for people asking me what did I say, they can't understand what I said. Nobody got time for that shit. Nobody cares that serious. We care about our culture, but nobody has time to care about that. Man, there's a guy on the TV talking to Islands, turn the TV, I don't understand what he's saying. So what I've done is, in the film that I produced, some of the film, people are speaking in their dialect, but as a narrator, because I guess I'm a bridge, as a journalist, we're bridges, so I'm speaking in the standard English. Sometimes I go back and forth, so a larger audience can receive it, but it still remains authentic to our community. And I think the truth is, people want that. People don't want people don't want to see a carbon copy story of a Caribbean story that's told in an American lens. And that's why a lot of people think, when they turn on these travel shows, they get irritated. Because it's some guy from Tennessee that says, hey guys, I'm in the islands with exotic people, and we're eating oysters and wilts on the beach. Oh my God, a little island boy. Hey, Johnny. It's the truth. Oh my God, look at the guy blowing the conch shell. That's so cool. So how do you blow it? Wow, I'm blowing a conch shell in St. Martin. The larger world really doesn't like that. Because I've had viewers tell me, we want the authentic Caribbean, but we want it to be able to, we want to understand it. So I think there's a happy union where you can merge the two. Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you pay to get a story?
What you said?
Do you have to pay to get a story? I don't know, something.
Do I have to pay? Do I have to pay?
For example, if you want to interview someone,
Yes.
and the person maybe want a fee to share their story.
Okay. In other words, in journalism, is there pay for play? As in, the people paid, it happens, but I'll say this, I stay true to journalistic truth. I give you an example, true story, you might call me a crazy buffoon. A guy came to me, Peter, I want to interview with you, man, I love your work. I said, but I don't think your story, he said, what? He came back to my office with a duffel bag of $60,000 cash. Now mind you, I want that money. I'm a businessman. But I feel that if you do that, it takes away from the authenticity. We can't live in a world where money controls everything. If you let's look at the music industry. I think that's what hurt the music business. You have incredible artists, and it's sad. I hate to say this. Most of the most talented people are terrible at business, so they never have money. And the people with really limited talent, they got a whole bunch of money, so they pay for everything, and it affects art. So does it happen? You're damn right it happens. It happens, but I don't believe it should. I believe that a story should be published or be sent to the masses on its merit. On its merit. Now, journalism is still a business, right? Let's keep it real here. It's a business. And I think artists need to understand that. It's a product. I don't like to look at it, but it's still a business. So how does it work? Okay. If you pick up Time magazine, right? You see an advertisement. In media, really no money is made from you buying the magazine, really. No money is really made from you turning on the TV and watching the show. All the money is made through advertising. So there's one, I guess, one is I was in Newsweek, and I was writing a story about lung cancer. And I remember my editor came to my office and said, Pete, and they kind of know me, right? I'm very grounded in my values. Pete, don't get offended, but can we hold that story till next week? I said, why are we holding the story? Because it's a weekly magazine. Why are we holding the story? Peter, I'm your boss. Don't act, just hold the story, okay? When the magazine came out, there was a Marlboro ad. You get it? So Marlboro was like, we don't, look, we have an ad in the magazine, but you're writing about lung cancer. You get it? So, look, man, journalism is such a fine line that even to this day, no one really knows how to answer that question fully and master it. Because it's a fine line, because you still have to make money. You still have to keep the lights on, keep the publication going. But I think there's a marriage. So when I look at what he did, to me that was a just decision, right? Because you can't stop Marlboro from paying for advertisement. But if they're a company and they're saying, look, it's a lung cancer story, can you not? So it's a fine line. But if we are allowing everybody to just pay for exposure and pay for news, that's dangerous. Look at the White House. That's what he did. That's what he did. So it's a fine line. I'm rooted in the belief that stories should be told on its merit. If somebody comes to me with no money, with not a dime, and I believe in their story, and I think that story should be told, I will find a way to get that story told. Basically. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Wendy from Grenada.
How you doing?
I consider a journalist a researcher.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm thinking that sometimes you may research some story that the values that you bring to that story, let's say, contradicts your employer, your publisher, your employer. And what process, how does that work out? Because I'm thinking sometimes, to what extent do they edit your work so that it falls more within their philosophy or their values compared to what you do?
If a publication is a real journalistic publication, that won't happen. If, like I said, real journalism is not editorializing. The problem with today is, I don't know what's going on. If you turn on the TV and you see a bunch of pundits giving their opinions, that is not journalism. That is not journalism. Now, if you want to be an opinion writer, fine. But journalism, we stay true to the story. So if you have a story that's real, that's truth, that's honest, and your editor is conflicted about it because maybe it's going against their opinions, he's not running a journalistic publication. He has an agenda. And he's just using the publication to further his agenda. That's not journalism. Like I said, I believe in God, but I did a whole series on atheism. And after the series, people thought, why does God believe in God? No, that's not my job to tell people how to think. My job is to present and tell a story so you can understand that person's position. And what I've noticed when I pick up a lot of our newspapers in the region, it's a lot of editorializing. I don't know what, it's a lot of, I'm reading the article and I'm like, then I do my research and I realize the publisher had invested in this certain business. And I said, oh, that's why these stories are so pro this and pro that. So that should never happen. Real journalism is you're telling a story. My job when I interview you is not to change your views about anything. My job as a journalist is to get your story and publish it. Now, there's editorializing. When I started in my career, yes, there's a formula like TIME and Newsweek. There's a certain writing style they like, yes. But they never change the content. Like I've never had an incident where I wrote a story and because a lot of times my editors used to clash with me. You know, one of my editors, this guy was a guy from Connecticut, wealthy family that thinks all poor people are lazy. You know, and I wrote a story about the lack of opportunities and job opportunities, I think in Harlem. And he literally felt all these people are just lazy and they don't have jobs. But the story still ran. Because journalistic integrity, you can't compromise that. And then as I got further in my career, whatever I put in the magazine just went. But when you start as a writer, yeah, there's editing, but the editing should not change your voice or the content. What editing does, it just makes it more legible. See, editing is not changing the content. Editing is like basically making the story more fluid. You know, beginning writers have a problem. When I read work, I can tell when a person is not a professional writer because the sentences are too long. Some of the vocabulary is over the top, like they're trying to show you that they can write. Writing should just flow. A lot of people when they sit to write are trying to show you they can write. That's amateurish. Great, Bob Marley was a great writer. I don't want to wait in vain. It's succinct, it's profound, it has meaning, and it tells a story. Great writing is the definition of being profound is being impactful and understood in the least amount of space. Think about it. Did I answer the question? Make sense? Yes, sir. I saw somebody with a hand. Yes, ma'am.
You said that CNN reports
in true journalism form?
Do I think CNN reports in true journalism form? I think they used to. I think they used to. When I was at the Miami Herald, I saw this new wave coming. And I'll tell you exactly when it happened. We went from news to entertainment to now infotainment. Let me explain what I mean. Anybody remembers Anna Nicole Smith?
Yes.
Remember her?
Yes.
That's when the shift in journalism happened. Because what happened, to be fair to journalism, Anna Nicole Smith was this, I guess, I don't know, Playboy bunny / and she was married to this wealthy guy and she was found dead. And I remember when it happened because I was writing a story on pirates in Somalia that were basically off the coast of one of those countries was hijacking ships. And my editor, I pick up the Sunday papers, would be on the front page, and I see Anna Nicole Smith on the front page, and the Somalia story is hidden. And that shift started to happen because, to be fair to these organizations, we're living in the attention age. There's so much things coming at everybody that the editors, they can't get your attention. That's how they gotta eat, that's how they make money. So what happened? We entered infotainment, where now Kim Kardashian is always in the headline. Kanye West's rants is always in the headline. And it's sick. It's a dangerous space. You talk about CNN. It's not CNN, it's called the Trump Show. That's really what CNN is right now. They're benefiting from the ratings his antics give. And if I had a conversation with one of my guys, the executive of CNN, and he said, Peter, privately, I'll be honest, when we look at that situation, some people feel guilty because they put him in the news so much, they validated him. And why did they do it? Ratings. And he knows that. I think sometimes he just wakes up in the morning and says, you know what? I'm gonna go and say something crazy today. I'm gonna tweet something crazy. And he calls his friends, yo, turn on the news, look at them. Ah, they bit. Anyway, I think this man just wakes up and says, you know what? He's in Britain the other day. And he's being interviewed about the assault rifles. Then he says, well, you guys have knives. And when you stab everybody, the blood is everywhere. Why are journalists taking that serious? The man is looking for he's a salesman. He's a salesman. I'm a business, I know sales. So the problem is, to your point, and you know what, I can't even judge CNN because we have to all figure this out. Because we can blame us. Because the CNN guy is saying, well, Peter, when I publish a story about poor dying children somewhere, you guys are looking at Kanye West. So we have, as a people, as a community, journalism and the readers are one. We can't just put it on the business people because they got to keep the lights on. So if they're saying, Peter, the world isn't caring about real stuff anymore, but to your point, ma'am, see, we're in dire straits right now. Because I've seen on CNN, it'll say breaking news. Trump calls somebody nasty. How is that news? How is that breaking news?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I'm Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina.
Yes, hi. I would like to ask you, what would be your legacy for journalism?
What would be my legacy for journalism? Boy, you gonna hit me in the chest, Sabrina. You want me to soul search my life right now. I'm living it. I'm right in the middle of it. As a child, I always felt Caribbean people were invisible. Growing up in St. Thomas, I always felt invisible. I used to work as a janitor in high school at a restaurant. And I used to be a janitor, dishwasher. I was 15 years old. And one night, I was headed to clean the bathroom. And a tourist, kid had to be about 10 years old. And he just used the bathroom. He walked out, he threw $5 at me. Yeah, clean mine.
Wow.
And I tell that story because my whole life, I used to nag at me. Because I was proud of my people. I remember growing up too, you'll be on you guys have safaris in St. Martin? Like dollar taxis things? Okay. So growing up, what would happen, we as school kids would be on the bus or safari. And when tourists would come, we would have to get off. Like there was an understanding that the tourists, since they're driving the economy, they're more important than the local people. And that used to really bother me. And I said one day, I'm gonna shed light on this. I don't know if I can change it, but if I shed light on this, I'll spark the people that can change it. And I'm doing that right now. I always wanted to take Caribbean sensibility, stories, and culture to the larger world. Not our calypso, that we've had enough of that. None of this with the calypso. But the party, the carnival, that's cool. But I wanted to take our story and the depth of it, our intelligence, and beam it across the globe, and I'm doing that. So I'm in the middle of my legacy.
Thank you.
1 second. Yes. Yes, sir. Yeah, you. What's your name?
My name is Phoebe.
How you doing, Phoebe?
You said like you don't give your opinion on like news story.
You said what?
You said you don't give your opinion on the story.
Yes.
So what do you think a journalist should do to offer like a story to the world, like to make it entertaining, you know?
Okay.
To make it more entertaining.
Okay, so in other words, there's a fine line. There is standard journalism, but right now I've kind of passed that level in my career, so my work is advocacy. Because I kind of paid my dues, so I can just have my opinions on my work. But you asked how to make a story interesting so people care, right? Details. Details. When you report a story, the more details you can add, because guess what? Human beings are very interesting, we're curious. Every human being asks questions, right? Every human being wakes up in the morning, at some point in your life, you're gonna ask, why am I here? Everybody. And if you don't, you're just floating. You better figure it out. So, having said that, GB, is that every story can be interesting if you report it well enough. If you bring out the dialogue, if you bring out the details. I did it when I was at the Miami Herald. One of my editors hated my guts. You know, young black kid. I was 23, the youngest right at that time. The young guy just moving, doing my thing. And I had won an award for education report in the state of Florida. And when I came back to the newsroom on Monday, they demoted me. He sent me out to a small bureau. Just the guy in me he just had this issue with me. You know, this rivalry, older guy, and he's this Caribbean guy walking around here all flashy. You know, I was back then, I got a drop top outside, I'm zooming around Miami, you know, maybe I was a little arrogant, I don't know. But it rubbed him the wrong way. So he sent me out to this little bureau, and just to piss me off, there was a cat stuck in this tree across the street from this dormitory at the college campus. And the cat was screaming and it was pissing off the professors, and he wanted me to go write that story. So it's only that guy just won a national award for education writing, and I'm going to cover this cat that's screaming and pissing everybody off. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna show, because he's thinking it's a stupid story, nobody cares about that. And as writers, man, we want to get the good stories. We have this, that's what motivates us, to get the good story. So I said, I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna turn this cat story into a masterpiece. So I go out, and the cat is screaming his head off. But I figured out the owner of the cat was this 80-something-year-old lady. And I started interviewing her. Then I figured out her husband was a veteran. And I started telling her story. So it became less about the cat and more of a portrait of this LA lady, and this story won an award. So the point is, every story matters. And every story can be provocative and powerful enough if you keep looking. In life, right, and you know, in life, we don't take time. We're rushing through life. If you stop and look at something long enough, that chair becomes something else. You're gonna start seeing the patterns in the chair. You're gonna start seeing other aspects of the chair. So a great journalist is patient and takes time to really understand the subject. In any story, a great journalist could write about that chair and make you love it. For real.
Yeah.
Question? Yes, ma'am. Storytellers are art, yes. Yes, ma'am.
So therefore, you
suggested that she creates a blog.
Yes.
Now, these are regular people, not journalists creating blogs. How would you say, what steps, what skills should they start refining in order to make sure that the quality of the blog is, brought up?
The quality of the blog is brought up. Okay. I'll tell you, I'll compare it to when rappers and famous people, the question is, how can everyday people who are not trained journalists start blogs and raise the level to be professional journalism? And it's a great question because you just triggered, so you pushed a button. Let me explain. A lot of actor friends of mine get very upset because now rappers and other people are taking their jobs. Because, so say T.I. is casting a movie. You're a trained classical actor, you went to London School for this, and you've been doing all these auditions, and then T.I. gets a role because he's T.I. Right? Journalists feel the same way. When the blogosphere happened, we got pissed off. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like a doctor. Would you allow somebody to operate on you that doesn't have the training? Having said that, I don't want anybody to call me elitist in this room. Okay, but my point is, what we're seeing today is recklessness. What we're seeing today is not journalism. We're seeing people today just, I don't know, they're mad at the world sometimes, and they're just reporting stuff. We're in a very dangerous space. My mother is 75. My mother calls me, son, I didn't know the world's going to end in 10 years. I said, what you talking about? Well, I saw a story on Facebook said we all gonna die. We're in the era of people just publishing all kind of stuff. And there's the lines of truth are blurred. So I'm happy you asked that question because what I do as a journalist is real. This is not a hobby. This is not your home. You know what, to hell with it. I'm gonna be Anderson Cooper. I'm gonna sit on the internet, do a video, and now, you gotta take this serious. Because it's real. This is how important journalism is. I'm trying to remember the journalism. Maybe someone in here knows. It was years ago, there was a famine in the country. And this reporter refused, they weren't reporting it, and people were dying. People were dying. And when he finally reported, the UN came and helped. My point is, this thing we do, it's important. It's critical. Okay, if I'm a cancer patient, how am I going to know about the new cure or the new medication if I don't read it somewhere in a periodical? So how do you decide to be a journalist and be professional about it? Read as much as you can. Start understanding writing. A lot of people like the glamour. Well, I'm going to start a blog, and then I'm going to tweet to CNN, and Time and Newsweek is going to pick me up. What? There's a process. A mango tree takes, 10 years to bloom fruit? This ain't overnight. Success is not overnight. So, starting a blog, first of all, you got to decide, what's the purpose of it? Don't just be doing things in life. What's your purpose? Like, why am I doing this? So decide, okay, like Sin-Maurice Green. I keep referring to Sin-Maurice Green. There's a passion for environmentalism. So this blog is going to be geared to all topics of environmental issues in Sin-Maurice. Find out the other people, the expert, the scientists, the other people involved in that. Basically, find out who's the authority on this, who's been researching this, who spent 20 years giving their lives to that. That's your audience. Find your audience. Journalism, you have to find your audience. So whatever blog you have, what is the blog that you want to start?
I have a blog called Saltfish and Lace.
What's it called?
Saltfish and Lace.
Saltfish?
Saltfish and Lace.
Oh, okay. And what is it about?
It's a lifestyle blog, so it's a lifestyle from the food, style,
Gotcha. Yeah, so basically, find out who these people are. Write as much as you can. You should be writing every day. If you're a journalist, a day should not go by when you're done. Just write something. It's like training. You're going to keep writing. Interview as much people as you can. Great journalism shows instead of tells. Show me instead of tell me. Right? Show me instead of tell me. So if you're doing a story on the new trend in St. Martin, I don't want to hear what you got to say about it. I want to hear other people's voices. I want to see you get out here in St. Martin, and when I'm reading this, wow, she really, she's showing me the range of it. Don't be lazy, please. Don't show me instead of telling me. A lot of beginning journalists want to tell me. They just want to tell you. Like, I gotta verify this. I hear what you're saying, but I want to hear what other people are saying. So basically, have a diverse group of people you're drawing this information from. Make sense? Question. Hi, Goldie. Mine, Williams family. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
So you came a long way, obviously.
Whoa. Yes, ma'am. And what's your name?
My name is Jafar Office.
How you doing, Jafar Office?
The journey that you took to reach where you are today,
Yes.
it was hard, but was there a time that you thought of giving up?
Oh, yeah.
And how did you bounce back and get back on track? Oh, I feel like giving up right
On my journey, was there a time I wanted to give up and how did I bounce back? I used to sleep in my car in Brooklyn. I was homeless. Yeah. When I left college, at that time, I wanted to be a writer, and it doesn't pay at that time, right? Most of my peers in journalism were rich kids. Because at that time, they want to be the next Watergate scandal. They want to break that big story, so they got a trust fund and they can just live until they get that big break. I didn't have that luxury. So I used to go around New York City, freelancing for whatever publication, the Flushing Meadows Weekly, the Canarsie Brooklyn Times, like anywhere I could write. I used to make $20 here, $50 here. Sometimes this guy at a restaurant, okay, you write a review, I'll give you free food for the week. Yeah. I used to go, the internet, there was a guy from Jamaica in Queens, and I used to drive to his corner store, and he saw my hustle. So he said, let me use his computer in the back. Yeah, I used to, I slept in my car. Slept in my car for a period of time, and I've been through some things. What kept me going was, man, you're making me think. Thank you for that question. What kept me going in life, right? If you're doing something for you, you're gonna give up. You're gonna give up. Because but if you're doing something for a larger purpose, for other people, because of love, that's gonna keep you going. Your ego is not gonna keep you going. If you're doing something selfishly, you're gonna give up.
Yeah.
But if you have a larger purpose here and you realize this thing, this dream is larger than you and it's gonna help some other people, I couldn't give up on them. That's why I didn't give up. True story. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been where like your morals and values were compromised?
Of course. Was there ever a time when my morals and values was compromised in the journalism? Yes. When I started my show, my NiteCap show, and my kids are leaving, what's going on? I feel like I'm falling off the keep being brilliant, please. The future needs you. For real, seriously. When I started my show, every drug dealer in America was trying to put money in my pocket. At the time, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Miami, but we had a strip club called King of Diamonds. Major strip club. And the owner, he was involved in a lot of mess, man. And he said, Peter, I love your show. I love what you do. I want you to film your show at my strip club. So basically, he wanted me to basically be the face of what he had going on in there. And the girls would be in this, in the backdrop and the show and whatnot. It's $500,000. And I looked there, I thought about that money. I thought about that money. Then I thought about my mother. And I thought about young girls. And I said, if I take this money and I produce this show, I'm sending the message. I'm not judging anybody, have fun, but on my personal note, I said, if I do this, I'm telling young girls, don't go be a doctor, man. Go shake whatever in the strip club. And to this day, I'm like, should I take that money? but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So when you're starting to rise in a certain level, a lot of things come your way. Last year's election, the 2000, that guy and his crew wanted me involved in that. Wanted me to kind of be a spokesperson for a new black entrepreneurship thing. And I passed on that too. And I'm happy I did. Now, these decisions, I don't say like it's easy, like I'm this perfect guy with all this moral virtue. Hell no, I got issues. You know, I'm not perfect. So, I've passed on certain things and I sleep well. You know, the beauty in life, man, when you build something from nothing, and you know you didn't disrespect yourself, your values, your honor, your God, your family, and you finally make it, nothing sweeter than that. I got a lot of, I'm telling you, nothing sweeter than that. I got a lot of friends in the entertainment business. A lot of friends, why do you think a lot of these people do all these drugs, man? If you so happy, why you I'm not saying you have a little fun here and there, but you high and drugged out all the time? You wake up mad on the internet, tweeting, Instagram, pissed off all the time, cursing people all the time? It's because you know you did some things to get here, and you got to think about it every day you go to bed. You got to think about that person you probably had set up, killed. You had to think about that person you robbed from. You had to think about that man you laid down with and you didn't want to. It's these things you got to think about. But I tell people, there's a short route to success, and there's a long. And when you take the long road, you're gonna get beat up. You're gonna get, your family gonna think you're crazy. When I started to be a journalist, my father said, oh, the boy done lost his mind. Go in America to go be a poet. What kind of nonsense? Tell your son that he's a fool. Yeah. The boy, because for the Caribbean, you get out here and go to college, you're going to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. You're not chasing your passion or your purpose. You're going to get a good job, you're going to be a respectable person. I'm Dr. So-and-so, but you mad and miserable with your life because you didn't pursue your calling. So when I started this journey, my family thought I was crazy. I left Time magazine. Who leaves Time magazine at 23 years old? Who does that? But you know, a lot of us, we're so caught up in prestige. We're so caught up in titles that we ain't doing what we really want to do in here. But that long route, woo, that long route. I had times in my life when I was a verge of a nervous breakdown. Because you're trying to do something. I felt like sometimes I'm climbing my Everest. I feel I finally reached the point, kick back down. Gotta climb it up again, kick back down, climb it again. Then I figured something out, right? That builds character. Yes. I'm not trying to brag, but as a businessman, I'm serious with it. Like, deals to me, I don't say that to brag, but it's kind of an art to me now. And how did I arrive at that point? Because I've been kicked around so much. If you done been lied to, exploited in every kind of way, now you know the game every kind of way. So if somebody comes right now, I can smell a hustler from down the street. Try calling me, good luck. Because I've been seasoned in this now. What kind of food is the best food? The food that's slow cooked. You season it, you marinate it, you put it overnight, and then you find cook. That's the food that tastes good. The one you rush, you got blood in it, it's all messed up. Success in life is no different. Everything you want amazing in life, you're gonna sacrifice. I say the example of like NutraSweet. When they found out that NutraSweet was giving people these different diseases. Because if you want to be healthy, it's gonna suffer. You're gonna suffer. People don't like to suffer. Somehow we've learned that pain is not a good thing. When you have a fever, you know what a fever really is? It's your body getting rid of but you go through pain. There will be no success without pain. There will be no, okay, I'll go back to the man in the White House. You know why this man's so unstable? He ain't never worked for nothing. So every day he wakes up, he has to prove to everybody, because he knows deep down inside, he was given everything. There can be no success without sacrifice. And when you make those sacrifices, to me, the best part of it, the best part of the journey, there's some people who make it in life and for some reason they don't want to help anybody. They're like, well, I had to do this, so you got to do it too. I don't believe in that. To me, the best part of what I do is, I had to go through the jungle and clear a path and get bit by lions so the kid behind me don't have to do it. That's why we do that. But I tell you all the time, when a buddy of mine called me, he's a musician, he's trying to get a record deal. And he said, man, why every bad thing is happening to me? I said, if not you, then who else? So you think about the hurricanes. You know, hurricanes, I said, man, why is this happening to me? But I said, well, Peter, if it happened to somebody else, there would be nobody to help you. So consider pain and struggle an asset. While you're going through it, you're not going to think that. But when you cross over, there is nothing in this world that knowing you done suffered, you done sacrificed, you never lied to anybody, never stole anybody, you finally made it. You sleep good at night, man. You sleep very good at night. Yes, ma'am.
So I've been trying to.
Your name?
Serena.
Serena.
Sorry.
The poet.
I'm trying to formulate this question. I write for a magazine, but I try to be journalistic in the stuff that I write. How do you go about writing a storytelling without being too serious, too formal in your way of writing? Basically, what style should you use?
What style should you choose as a writer? You can't even, that's a question you shouldn't decide. Just keep writing. Just keep writing and you'll find your voice. It's a process. That's the thing, like I say, it's a process. After maybe your 500th story, you'll start to see your voice develop. Writing is about having a voice. If you read my work in any publication, well, that's Peter Dale. Like I have a certain style, I have a certain voice, I have certain words I use, but that takes time. That's like a chef, a master, he got his signature. It takes time. So with your writing style, just keep writing. Don't even think about what's my style and what's this, just write. Just do the work. Just write. That's like your style and what you're talking about, that comes at the end of the journey. That comes when all the bright lights is coming. Right now, you a dishwasher. You back there washing the dishes. So you need to just work and just keep writing. And then eventually over time, your style will develop. You'll discover your style. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Greta. I have a question. I write on Facebook and blog, and I noticed that when I write my articles, they don't get as much feedback as when I produce a video, like a video blog, and people like that. I wonder, do you ever feel like as a writer, if you want to write a web, that because like we're using the internet and Facebook, Instagram, that the writing part is becoming, if you want to reach the masses, it's like you can't use writing as much as the other formats because people will quicker watch a video than read a story.
I used to feel that, but it's not true. Let me explain, yes. In other words, is video taking the place of writing, per se. I used to have an old professor of mine from back in the day. He said, I see you doing movies now. No, you're a writer, man. What's going on? Because writers, we got this rivalry. No, I want to see some writing, Peter. Yes, we are in the age of video. But I will tell you this. If 30 years from now, a bomb drops, there's no electricity, if I write something here, that's staying forever. It's staying forever. If I have a video, you gotta find a battery, you gotta find electricity. Nothing will replace the written word. Nothing. Can't. We've been scrolling in the ages of 100 years ago. Video enhances the written word. And to your point on Facebook, let me tell you the trick about the danger about social media. Let me tell you the danger about social media. It's a trick. Let me explain something. Okay. You see an artist has 1 million followers on Twitter, right? He sells an album, only 10,000 people buy the album. What that means? Social media is a false sense of influence. Because 80% of people on there just on there for attention and entertainment. The other 10, they just bored, and maybe 10 are really in tune. And then about feedback. Psychologically, studies have shown people who have positive things to say are less inclined to express them. That's why social media is filled with a bunch of angry, miserable people. Because misery and negativity, those people are usually more vocal. People who are positive and they don't got time and hooping and hollering all day on Facebook. So I wouldn't care about that. Keep writing. Because there's people who are watching, they're just not commenting, they're not liking it, but they're paying attention. I do it. I scroll and read stuff, I may not comment, but I'm watching. And the truth is, I won't sound like leaders again, the truth is, the people who really are going to help you in your career, writing is that's never going to be replaced. Because like I said, if there's a video, sometimes the internet is sketchy, it's buffering. Some people just like, I know people that only read. I have friends that they just love the written word. So there's always going to be a place for the written word. The masses may love the video, but there's always going to be that audience. There's 7 billion people in the world. 7 billion. So you don't have to reach 7 billion. But if you got 100,000 people reading you every day, you're fine. The danger of this new world we live in social media, we think we got to be everything for everybody. Think about it. There was a time when I could just be in my bubble, writing, doing my thing, not concerned about who's doing what, who's doing where, but now I'm just being inundated with everybody else's stuff. And that shape, that influences you. So you're thinking, maybe I should write like this, maybe I should do this. And then on a personal level, man, so-and-so just bought a house, I gotta go buy a house. So just stay in your lane and keep doing what you do. Social media can get you lost out there. So just keep doing what you're doing, yes. Do I know about what? Authorship.
See, that we're on social media. For instance, if you want to start publishing certain articles on Facebook, I wanted to know, do you think it's best to create your blog, put it on that then?
Yes. Mark Zuckerberg is one of the greatest businessmen and salesmen there is. Do you know what Facebook really is? Do you know what it really is? All this really is? It's a way for advertisers to get your information freely to advertise to you to get money. That's why when you go on Facebook, you're seeing something, oh, I like that. How did he know I like that? That's what it is. It's mining. It's actually, it's crazy, but they're actually getting, and you're telling everybody about yourself for free. So now if I like Erica Badu, you're putting on Facebook there, you like Neo Soul, you love Neo Soul. All of a sudden, you see on your feed an Erica Badu concert. And guess what happened? Everybody making money off it. But Facebook, be very careful with this thing. Especially your artists. I would write on my blog and use Facebook for promotion. But don't be going and writing a whole diary. Don't give this man your life. You're giving this people your whole life. People on Facebook tell, my mother in the hospital, you're showing her tubes out of lungs, you're showing her funeral. What? You giving Mark Zuckerberg don't deserve that. No, that's a business. Guys, Facebook is a business. And he is a businessman. And you are just giving him your life. And guess what? He owns all the content on there. Yeah. Oh, you guys think you own that content? So every little thing you don't post it, Zuckerberg said, we're going to do a documentary on you. You can take everything and film a movie and get money, and you're going to be like, what? Everything, they own that. You think you own it? Nothing free in this world. Nothing free in this world. Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is Norrin, and I want to ask a story about Gary Webb.
You said what, sir?
The journalist, the guy by the name of Gary Webb.
Gary Webb, yes.
From a small company.
The crack era.
And now he has to juggle his life between the life and the story. So in a case like this, how are you going to deal with it? With your story or your life?
As a journalist, how do you not get consumed in the story? How do you balance your life and journalism? Ooh. Ask my ex-girlfriend, that's why she left. I didn't do that well. Boy, that's a good question. I think if you discover your calling, it's not work anymore. Like when I'm a journalist and I'm writing, I don't feel it's work. So I think it's one and the same, kind of. But I think that there have been times when I got too close to a story. There have been times when, say, I went out to Vegas to interview a casino, and he was a mob boss. And I was doing a profile on him. And I think I indulged a little bit in too much of the activities that he had going on. And basically, I got too consumed in the story. And I think that, but I don't think it's possible. What's the greatest asset to a great journalist? Empathy. You gotta feel the subject you're writing about. But it's a fine line. It's a very fine line. Hunter S. Thompson he kind of did something called gonzo journalism. It was in the 60s. Leaving Las Vegas was a film, a book, whatever. And what he would do, if he's writing about drug addicts, he'll go through the heroin with them. Yeah, so he could understand what it's like to be a drug addict. Yeah, Hunter S. Thompson. His whole style of journalism, called gonzo journalism. No, he died. Yeah. But hold up, let's not be judgmental. You know, let's not be judgmental. He gave some of the greatest pieces of journalism you'll ever read. Because he made that sacrifice to fully understand his subjects. I'm not saying to do that, but he did that. I am not saying to do it, but when I wrote the Trick Daddy memoir, in many ways, I remember I was dating somebody at the time, and she said, "You coming on sound like a thug." No. And I remember I started drinking tequila. A lot of tequila, because we were in the studio and they drinking tequila, and because I spent 3 years with him. And it's his life story. So it is impossible to be around an environment and it doesn't, no, it's impossible. Because I remember during that time, I look back and like, wow, I was acting a little bit crazy. Yeah, because we was in the studio drinking every day, but the book is a masterpiece, I'm gonna say that. So it's a fine line. It's a fine line, but I would say a master journalist, you gotta ride that line. Because you gotta tell a great story. I'm not saying if you're doing a story on drug addicts, do the drugs, but you gotta try to understand the subject as much as possible. And I think the way you do that is, yes, understanding is just it's the story, but you gotta maintain who you are. It's like an undercover cop. When these guys go undercover and they gotta pretend to be in a drug environment, they were drug dealers for 3 years, these guys, they do he literally, they had to fire him because he was in Queens and he basically was doing undercover work and he got caught up. So the journalists, it can happen. I used to look at the guys that would go cover the war, that would be embedded with the terrorists. And those guys, man, you can't be around something and not. So there's a fine line. I don't walk that line anymore. But it's a very fine line. I got 10 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned that journalism stays true to the story.
Journalism stays true to the story.
So I wanted to know, because some people lie and they're compulsive liars, and just saying. And then, because there's some situations that you look online and then, like a place like in Iraq or whatever, and they lie about the story and they see children dead, and that's how they make fake news in America. And then, so I was wondering, how do you deal with a situation as such as when you publish something that it happened to be a lie and you figure that out afterwards, after the fact? So I was wondering.
It's a good question because what's ruining journalism today is everybody wants to be first, not necessarily right. That's a problem. We've had situations where people didn't die yet, somebody said they died, and somebody put it on Facebook and ran with that. I think that if you take your time and due diligence and not be so consumed with landing the big story, that won't happen. But yes, we're in an age where because everybody wants to get your attention as fast as possible, nobody's sitting down to really vet the story. And you're destroying people's lives. Because the freedom of the internet, if somebody said Peter Billy Kennison Martin and he was out there running the beach naked, is a rumor, but if you put it on Facebook, it stays forever. And now public opinion is shot. And that's why I go back to saying journalists, we gotta really take what we do see. This is not some hobby. You gotta take it serious. So if you do your due diligence, case in point, today's blogs and news stories, I'm realizing, you read the article and it's like one quote or one source. Standard journalism, we had to have at least 4 voices in it. Like I couldn't report something about somebody, an allegation, without getting a comment from that person. I couldn't. The R. Kelly documentary, I'll give for example of that. It's great that we're now dealing with the issues of sexual harassment and people being exploited. That's great. But when I looked at that docuseries, I don't know if the man guilty or not. I don't know. That's him. I don't know the man. But a little bit of that was reckless journalism, because it was all interviews of people saying this thing. And even if it's true, it's probably right or wrong, still you gotta have other people vet that. You can't just interview a whole bunch of people saying stuff. That's not journalism. Even if he is a villain, that's like law, the courts. You can't just drag me in the courthouse saying I shot somebody said this. So when I'm reading news stories today, I see a whole story, and it's coming from one source. Journalistic ethics, what I was taught in college, journalistic ethics, I have to have at least 4, maybe 5. The story can't even run. If I hear allegation about you, I have to meet with you. I can't say I called you and no comment. No. I would have to find you, talk to you, and I would have to hear you tell me I don't want to speak. Then I would put that in the paper. But I can't just hear something and run with it. That's reckless. It's very reckless. It is. You can't just go on. When I looked at that docuseries, it's just a whole series of people saying something about this guy. And it's probably true or not. I don't know, it probably is, but still, there was supposed to be some other representation in there. We can't just have gossip. This is news. You can't just, this people's lives we're dealing with. And how do I know that? I was at Newsday. One of my first jobs, I was in New York. And there was a story came in the wire, the police reports. I was a cops reporter. And they would send us, these cops reporters, they would leak us people's like arrest records and arrests and stuff. And this one guy was he was like a community hero in his neighborhood, working with the kids, doing all this good stuff. And then one of the kids' parents said he was touching the boys or something. So I go out to Queens and I had to interview. And when I get out, this little elderly lady that could have been my mother came up to me and said, "Are you the reporter? So you come to destroy my son?" She said, "You know, my son didn't do that stuff." I said, "Dang, what am I?" Then I'm reading all these people saying how good, amazing the guy is in the community and whatnot. I go back to the newsroom and this older reporter, I asked him, "Man, what should I do?" Like, he said, "Peter, your job is to report the news. If he did it or not, let the community decide." I stopped being a cops reporter after that. It's certain things I just don't. That's the fine line we ride. So please, when people on your Facebook and you get emotional and you're writing all this about people, please understand that's somebody's life. And there's always 3 sides to the story, right? The truth does end it. So we gotta take this. This is people's lives we're dealing with. There was another story I did about a football player. He was the top football player in Miami. You know, Florida's big on football. And the guy was the top recruit. And he had relations, you know, that's the old-fashioned word, with another student. He was 18, the girl was 16. But in Florida, we have this, it was a case that really, the statutory rape laws in Florida are serious. So the kid could be like 17 and obviously 18 is rape. It's kind of, like the girl was 16 and he was 18. So he gets charged with rape. The high school, the whole school trying to cover this up because they were about to play in the championship. Literally, so the wire comes in, the story lands on my lap, and I had to write just an arrest story. Like, they he got arrested, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, the news site, you know, news was taking a beat. So people wanted to get, you know, ratings. So my editor said, "Peter, I think there's something else. I need you to go out there and report this." I said, "Man, nah, I'm good." That's not, because I was very in with the black community. So the other reporters went out there and flushed the story out. They went and found the little girl, interviewed her. She's a child, so she's not aware. The whole story from the beginning was the sexual positions and all this stuff that was partaken in. Literally. Oh, it was a big story. It was all over the news. ESPN was running headlines. And I'm sitting there, I got pissed off. I went in there, I got suspended for like a week. Because I'm like, guys, this is children. What are we doing here? Long story short, a friend of the family of the little girl called me. And she said, "I need you to come meet me." I was like, "Cool." And she meet me at the hospital. I said, "Hospital?" She said, "I need you to meet me at the hospital." I go up in the hospital. Little girl is in the hospital bed. She has to try to kill herself. And she was saying, "Why the man here?" I was saying, "I'm a whore." Excuse my French. And I'll never forget that. I want, if anything I say here, when you're a journalist, people are just not a story, okay? People are just not a microphone for you to go get a headline and make a name off yourself. And I remember thinking like, wow. And that same kid lost all his scholarships. Ended up back in Miami, got shot. He working a car wash right now. Now, when I reflect on that, the school was wrong because they were breaking the law by trying to cover it up. But these are the fine lines I'm talking about here. So when you're on Facebook just ranting and raving, understand the real world of the internet, please. So we have a responsibility, you have to be accountable. True story. Yes, ma'am. That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.